fundamentals about the new blue economy. I'm now going to introduce our first speaker, and we could not have a better keynote speaker to set the scene than someone who is ensuring the development of the new blue economy is an essential and core part of the mission of the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And the person who actually defined the new blue economy in a very eloquent way as a knowledge-based economy looking to the sea not just for the extraction of material goods, but for data and information to address societal challenges and inspire their solutions. Rick Spinrad was sworn in on June the 22nd, 2021 as Under-Secretary of Commerce for Oceans and Atmosphere and the 11th NOAA Administrator. Dr. Spinrad is responsible for the strategic direction and oversight of the agency and its 12,000 employees, including developing NOAA's portfolio of products and services to address the climate crisis, enhancing environmental sustainability and fostering economic development. And alongside that, creating a just, equitable, diverse and inclusive NOAA workforce. It's my great pleasure to ask Dr. Richard Spinrad to tell us more about his vision for the new blue economy and the opportunities it will create for the ocean enterprise businesses that are represented here today at Oceanology. Over to you, Rick.
Thank you so much, Ralph. It really is a pleasure to be here again at Oceanology. I've been coming to OI back since OI was in Bristol. In fact, many of you may remember those wonderful times. I took the opportunity just before this session to do a sprint through the exhibit floor, and I've got to tell you that in all of my years of coming to OI in many different capacities, I couldn't feel more honored or privileged or challenged to be here today. I would say a huge percentage of the industries that you see and organizations that you see out on the floor didn't even exist just a few years ago. And you look at the challenges that we're facing, and you'll hear from this wonderful panel what some of those challenges look like. You'll get a real sense of why we are at a very special time now with respect to build out of this new blue economy. So let me first ask if my slides could, I'm sorry. This is tricky. You've got different slides on the screen here from the ones up there. Very good, thank you. What I want to do today is talk to you a little bit about the next layer of the onion, if you will, from the definition that Ralph just provided you of what the new blue economy is all about. And to do that, I want to give you a sense of the priorities that we've got within the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is actually on the next slide. And as that slide is coming up, let me try again. There we go, thank you. There are some key points that we're trying to build out into our agenda at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And I would argue these are not in any way particular or unique to NOAA, but they represent the challenges of what we need to do in the ocean community writ large. And the first is to establish authorities around the world for provision of climate products and services. What is it that society needs? And I would argue the most important component of that is the data and information that feed the knowledge that's needed to answer many of these questions. Claire and I, you'll hear from Claire momentarily, we're just talking about the needs in the economic world, in finance. We know the needs in safety. We know the needs in terms of protection of property and lives. Who is the authority? Where do you go for that information? In the same way that you may go to, here in the UK, you'll go to UK Met for the weather forecast. Where do you go for the climate products and services? The next key area is balancing environmental stewardship and economic development. In the past, people have seen these as opposing forces, if you will. They are not. There are people, including my boss, President Biden, who argue that climate change means jobs. I would argue the new blue economy, the use of ocean knowledge to advance society's needs, means jobs. And if you don't believe me, just walk the floor here and see how many jobs have been created and will be created by the entities here that are producing that knowledge. The other critical factor is how we deliver our products and services. Many of us know that some of the most challenged areas around the world in terms of delivery of products and services, in fact, are some of the small islands in developing states. Are we developing products to vulnerable communities? But more importantly, are we building the products in collaboration with those same societies and those same users, if you will? So looking at how we build out the equitable delivery is another important component of what we are doing. Let me talk a little bit then about this concept of the new blue economy. You heard the definition that Ralph laid forward, and it really is an information-based economy. And the easiest way for me to characterize it is to use an example. The example I like to use is commercial weather. I remember, I'm old enough to remember, 40 or 50 years ago, when many smart entrepreneurs came out and said, you know, we can take weather products and build derivatives, and there's money to be made in that business. I thought they were crazy. They're not. That business is about a $10 billion industry, the commercial weather enterprise. I would argue the commercial climate enterprise is easily a $100 billion market. The ocean piece of that, the new blue economy, will be critical. When you look at the role the ocean is playing with respect to both responding to and mitigating as well as adapting to climate change, it's incumbent on us to be able to provide that information for the industries, the reinsurance industries, the markets that are looking at capitalizing on the knowledge that we are creating. If you'll bear with my very specific example, I want to talk about the fact that what's different now compared to, I would say the days of Bristol in oceanology, is that we now have extraordinary capabilities. And what you're seeing here is just one example from my own agency of the sort of equities and resources that we can bring to the table to address the issues of not just climate change, but providing accurate, skillful, reliable, abundant products, data, information, and knowledge about the ocean, from satellites, from ships, from extraordinary new capabilities. The first thing I saw when I walked in the hall here was the sail drone vehicle. Didn't have that 10, 15 years ago. How many other platforms and sensors are on the exhibit floor here that were merely on the chalkboard 10 years ago? So our ability to acquire data. I'll give you another interesting factoid. I actually was at NOAA previously as a chief scientist and left the agency in 2016 and then came back obviously 4.5 years later, during which time NOAA's data holdings overall for all the things we do using all of these platforms you see on this slide, back in 2016 was 4 petabytes. When I arrived on June 22nd last year, NOAA's holding was 40 petabytes. That's an example of the kind of growth that we're seeing. It is truly exponential. So there's another interesting aspect to the new blue economy, and that is, what the heck are we going to do with all these data? And that's where sophisticated quantum computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning come to play. So great, you got this concept, new blue economy, you've got applications, you've got need, you've got capabilities, assets, and equities. What does it look like? Well, here's an example. At NOAA, we just produced a new product on sea level rise. This particular product provides capability for users around the coastal states in the U.S. to pick their part of the country and determine unequivocally, and that's the most important part, the error bars associated with sea level rise are tiny now. What the sea level rise facts are, what they can expect to see. For example, in my state of Virginia, where I live now on the coast, we know, we don't speculate, we know sea level rise will be between 10 and 12 inches. Listen to that. It's not between 5 and 20, it's between 10 and 12 inches by 2050, a mere almost 30 years from now. So these are the kind of tools, and you can imagine, especially in an audience like this at OI, what you do with that kind of accurate, skillful, available, reliable, and abundant information to make decisions about building codes, to make decisions about changing how we use and make our coasts a little bit more resilient to the changes we're going to see. This is not particularly new. Obviously, through Copernicus and the provisions provided by the Copernicus Marine Environmental Monitoring Service, there is a history, especially here on this side of the Atlantic, in developing these products and services. And I could show you similar examples from elsewhere in the world. In fact, it was about 15 years ago when I was traveling through India where I saw there had been localized similar approaches where the artisanal fishing communities recognized they needed products associated with the surface ocean currents and surface ocean temperatures, and they were, I would say, organically creating something very similar to CMES for their specific fishing needs in different communities. The number of different products and services that come out from things like CMES, from our own NOAA Coast Watch and Ocean Watch products, really now challenge the markets as to where our priorities should lie. I would say the fundamental change with respect to the new blue economy over the last few years has been, 10 years ago we argued, first of all, what is it? Second of all, can we actually do this and how would we do this? And the next thing we've done now is say, not only can we do it, we are doing it, but where are the priorities? My own agency, by relative standards, is a small agency in the US. We are a $6 billion agency. We like to say we're a $12 billion agency in a $6 billion box. And what I mean by that is I could easily lay out $12 billion worth of requirements for products and services like the ones you see on this screen. Okay, how do I prioritize? If I have to cut my budget by $1 or I get $1 more into my budget, does it go into a particular coastal product? Does it support fisheries? Do I support the reinsurance industry? What about commercial shipping? Not to mention all the homeland security and national security applications. So probably one of the most important things we have to do within this dialogue on the new blue economy is debate less about what it is and what feeds it, and recognize now our biggest challenge is how do we implement it? How do we build the priorities into it? So part of that is supporting respective national responses. At the US, we want to respond to this with next generation ocean economic products. We're looking at broader challenges within the US. For example, there's new money. I was told as an early program manager in the United States, there's no such thing as new money. There is new money for infrastructure. So there's a priority for us. How do we spend our resources addressing infrastructure problems, especially in the coastal areas? There are numerous challenges, and I would argue one of the most important ones is the challenge of workforce. I saw Liesl Hotelling in the audience here. Liesl and I wrote about this and spent a lot of time talking about workforce challenges. I'm delighted that later in our panel today you'll hear from Tom and John on the issue of accreditation, certifying people. Whom do you trust to take the data, take the information, take the knowledge, and translate it into products and services? In areas like weather, there are formal certification programs. Well, guess what? Largely due to the leadership of people like Ralph, when he was the president of the Society for Underwater Technology, we're now in a place where we have certification programs. Watch this space. I would argue, I'm guessing if I walk the floor today and ask how many of these folks here are certified or chartered on this side of the pond, marine technologists, it's a very, very small number, probably less than 10%. My prediction is 10 years from now when you walk the floor, more than half of the people here will have some form of charter or certification because society will demand that certification. They're going to want to know that there is a way of ensuring the authoritative nature of the products and services that are coming out. So the workforce development is part of this. Another important component of the challenges is the collaboration between public and private sector. I had the opportunity last night to talk to several of you in the audience here about just how do we do that? How do we do it effectively? How does my agency work with the extraordinary diversity and depth of investments by the private sector and philanthropy in this space? And right now, I would argue and say we get things done in spite of the bureaucracy. maybe we ought to try getting things done because of the bureaucracy in terms of collaboration between public and private sectors. I'd be remiss if I didn't spend just a moment talking about one of the issues associated with the workforce, and that, of course, is ensuring we have an equitable workforce. I've told folks in my agency that one of the problems is too many of the people in my agency look like me. It's a workforce that has got to be diversified, that has got to address the diversity of the society that we are supporting. I worked for a Secretary of Navy many years ago who announced that the United States Naval Submarine Forces would be at gender parity within 20 years. And everybody thought, oh, he's just being a liberal, he's really just saying that. And his comment was, no, it's actually a matter of fact that any publicly supported institution that does not look like the population it serves will not survive. So let's take that into account as we move forward. And let me close simply by sharing with you the quote that data will only continue to grow as the key commodity of the 21st century. All of us here are standing at a crucial moment where we can shape how ocean data are collected, interpreted, and who benefits in the decades ahead. And with that, I will tell you that that driver is coming from activities like this, from people like you, and from visions like the ones that are in every booth on this exhibit floor. So I couldn't be more excited about the prospects for the new blue economy. I couldn't be more excited about how we have struggled, debated, argued. I've finished a few bottles of scotch with my good friend Ralph over the debates about what does this look like, but we're in a different place now. We're done talking about it, we're ready to do it. I stand before you to say, I am here to help in any way I can, and I'm so excited that you're here with us too. Let's move forward. Thank you very much.